Party Guy, and I am back with another fun-filled video for you. And today's video, we're going to be talking about knife materials. Now, the knife material I've chosen for this video is white Westinghouse, and I have three knives in front of me that are a perfect example of white Westinghouse. So let's just get into this video. So this is my Samsung flipper, made by Cosi Steenkamp, and as you can see, the handles have white Westinghouse on them, and it's kind of a little antique looking, as you can see. This is probably one of the most sturdiest materials out there, and the use of it originated in South Africa. This material came to be, as far as I understand it, it's actually old refrigerator material from the 1950s that they had found in a warehouse that burned down. Where that warehouse is, I don't know whether that warehouse was in South Africa or here in the United States. But as you guys know, Westinghouse is actually a company that built refrigerators, and the warehouse that they were storing the refrigerators in had burned down, and they found a bunch of this material in the warehouse, and people from South Africa began to realize that the material was incredibly sturdy and almost indestructible. So this is my Samsung front flipper with the white Westinghouse on it, and as you can see, it's kind of antique type looking, old, a little bit flat finish on it, but still really nice, and it works really well with the theme of the knife on this one. We've got the red lightning strike carbon fiber bolster, and then of course he puts a white pivot on the knife on this one, right around the pivot ring there, and it looks really spectacular with the working with the red lightning strike. I thought it was a really nice choice, putting a gold clip on it. Again, another contrast up against the white Westinghouse. So as you guys can see, white Westinghouse works really well aesthetically as a knife material. It can't be beat. And what's interesting about this material is that it comes in different shades. I'm going to show you that right now. Here's my other knife. This one is by John Arnold. This is my Mufata. Same material, white Westinghouse. You can see a little bit of like a yellow age to it right down there by the gold screw. As you can see, it looks like it's aged a little bit, and it has. So that adds kind of like a nice contrast to the white Westinghouse. But if you notice, the white Westinghouse is a different shade than it is on this knife, on this the Steenkamp piece. On this one, it looks almost like wood. You can see the wood ridges in there, I guess. But what that is that's the aging of the white Westinghouse, where they've got those little accents of like yellowish streaks, versus what's on this one, where the yellowish streak kind of pops up only in one or two places, but yet the rest of the white Westinghouse is totally white. But what's nice is, if you notice, the screws are gold on this one, with this yin-yang theme that John Arnold went with. This is a one-of-a-kind handmade knife made for me, and if you guys can see that the gold looks really great up against that white Westinghouse aged look. It fits it perfectly. And then the back of the knife, it's not like 100% white, which they do have white Westinghouse that is almost white looking like micarta. In fact, I've seen white Westinghouse where it's practically as white as, if I hold up this knife here, see that white G10 in the middle? I've seen white Westinghouse look that white, almost looking like it's micarta. But that's what's interesting about white Westinghouse, that it can be, you can, I guess, as far as I understand, you can age it, or by simply, applying heat to it, as far as I'm guessing. But yet the material is totally indestructible. Uh, so they found out that this material was perfect for making knives, and it was another alternative to, say, titanium, which, obviously is the preem knife material for knives. If you want long lasting, if you want the knife to be long lasting, as far as the sturdiness of the knife and the sturdiness of the material that's used on it. But what makes white Westinghouse so interesting is that you can do different things to the white Westinghouse to give it a certain look. And I'm going to bring out my final knife here so you guys can see. This one is probably the best example of art using white Westinghouse. So as you guys can see, this has got the eagle bolster on it. And we've got white Westinghouse again, but now the white Westinghouse is totally antique changed. They've actually really kind of put this sort of darker streak across the white Westinghouse. It's got this really nice brown streak to it. So you can change the way that it looks to suit whatever it is that you're doing with your knife. In this case, Andre Thorburn decided that the knife should look like a bird is physically on your knife, because if you think about it, this white Westinghouse with that brown streak going across almost looks like an actual bird's beak, running down the center, where you would have this like dark sort of look on the knife. And this is actually a material you probably would not find too often on production knives. In fact, I'm not sure how expensive this material is, but it is a rare material, and it's getting rarer. You know, it's almost to the point where this material may be disappearing in the next few years. So in the custom world, if you can find a knife with this type of material, that is this, sleek and just overall pretty. I mean, it looks like it's something that should be on a knife, rather than something that they just found and said, well, let's just slap it on there. Because you can do so many things, change the shade of the white Westinghouse. One thing that all Westinghouse has in common is that they all have this very, very smooth finish. In a sense that texturally it's a smooth finish. They all feel exactly the same. Some of the white Westinghouse might have a flat finish, like this one. Others might have, more of a glossy look, like on my Thorburn, where you can see almost like a little bit of a sheen. I'm probably guessing that the sheen on the white Westinghouse could possibly be 2K gloss, which they spray on there to keep the white Westinghouse looking exactly the same and protected. But as you guys can see, it's a really, really pretty looking material to put on a knife. The cost of this stuff, they say it's expensive, but I'm going to say it's probably mediocre in price. I can't give you the prices for the white Westinghouse, like individually, if you were to purchase it from a manufacturer. That I'd have to look into. But what they do with this material on knives, the way they're constantly changing it and the way that it looks, totally worth it. Totally worth it, because it could be a completely different knife each time that they use this material, and they can combine it with other materials to give it a real artistic flair. I just think that the material works well, obviously up against dark colors like on the black titanium knife. So it's actually the choice of the knife maker what shade of white Westinghouse to put on a knife. That's part of the artistry of using this material. But I think, again, this material is just as sturdy as titanium, just as sturdy as zirconium, as carbon fiber. So it's a perfect addition to any custom knife if you wanted to go this route. Uh, and what's interesting about White Westinghouse is once it's put all together on the knife, it truly becomes its own art piece. I mean, you can distinguish one knife with White Westinghouse from another knife that's got White Westinghouse just because it blends in perfectly with whatever knife materials you have decided to choose. Um, because obviously, if you were to look at it aesthetically, this knife here doesn't look anything at all. In other words, I'm only talking about the White Westinghouse only. I mean, you can see that the White Westinghouse on this knife doesn't look anything at all like the White Westinghouse on any of these three knives. They are totally individual works of art. They don't all look the same. They all look completely different. And in my opinion, that's probably one of the main reasons why a lot of South African knife makers use it, is while the cost stays exactly the same, you can do different things with this material. You can change it up, make it darker, make it lighter, make it fit in with the theme that you want. It's a perfect canvas for creating something of an original, one of a kind, when you're dealing with making custom knives. In other words, a knife maker can go, well, I wonder what material can I use to put on this knife today. I need it to be darker. I needed it to be lighter. I want it to match the bird on my knife. I mean, obviously, you can CNC machine it, give it a different texture, but as far as the look, there's not much more you can do to it other than maybe anodize it. And with White Westinghouse, it's just a matter of possibly maybe burning the material a little bit, giving it that aged antique. Some of the White Westinghouse that the people from South Africa use are actually originally, that's the way they looked when they found it, because you got to remember this material is like 100 years old, so some of them have been aged naturally. I'm not saying that that's what happened with this knife, but it's a possibility. But the look of it is just stunning. Um, and it's even more so stunning once the knife's put all together. You can kind of see what the South African knife maker was trying to do with the uh, with the material in this case. So it's just a material that's incredibly flexible, incredibly durable. You get the best of both worlds. Um, So the applications for White Westinghouse, because of what you can do to it, is practically limitless. I mean, I haven't seen White Westinghouse go totally black, but I don't doubt if that's even a possibility. Um, but when you get home, I mean, check out the inside of your refrigerator and think about how tough that material is. Now, I'm not saying that that's actually what White Westinghouse, that's the same material as White Westinghouse, but the newer refrigerator material is not that far off from what they used 100 years ago. But I'm telling you, this stuff is incredibly, incredibly sturdy. And the fact that you can artistically change it, um, aesthetically to whatever you want to fit the theme of the knife that you're making, I think that's always a plus, and that's how the material became such a wanted material by both South African knife makers, and and collectors as well, because most South African knife makers, the really, really original South African knife makers would use much more exotic materials like shark teeth and like whalebone and who knows what else, like organic materials. And the world of inorganic materials that are being available to South African knife makers are now opening up more, and they're making that stuff available. Although because of the economy, a lot of the materials are going up and up and up and up, and it's costing even more money now to get a hold of certain materials. You know, and that being the case, there may be a possibility that we won't. There'll be a time when there won't be any more white Westinghouse available. But then, the world of custom knives will evolve, and they'll find some other inorganic materials to use on knives that would might have that antique, new but old look, like you see here with these three knives. But again, giving you guys the last shot of this white Westinghouse material, you can see that the shades are completely different. I mean, if I were to arrange it for you here, here we got dark, medium, and totally light. But light, but with like like a little dark accents every once in a while, kind of spilled on there. So it really becomes takes on a life of its own, this material, after a while. So people tend to order this material just as much as they would carbon fiber and zirconium. In fact, I think zirconium and white Westinghouse are the two materials most people kind of tend to order on knives, just because of the contrast of the dark and the light. And of course, these days, the top materials that you'll find on a custom knife are, titanium notwithstanding, because while I consider that, and that could be an artistic material, that's not in the same category as these things where you can literally alter the way the material looks. And it's sort of a foreign material that no one's ever heard of, whereas titanium is not a mystery material. Titanium's been around for who knows how long, and for sturdiness, that's like the ultimate that you could possibly get, and more than likely 60% of the cost of your knife would probably go to the titanium, because it's pretty much considered a forever, like a forever material to put on a knife that'll last that long. But white Westinghouse would probably come in second. But the top materials these days that are being used are carbon fiber, white Westinghouse, zirconium. Those are the top three. And of course, the newest material, which I don't even have in my collection, that's been popping up lately, is meteorite. That's the material I'm going to have to try and get a hold of. It's incredibly expensive. I saw at the Blade Gallery there is this little John Arnold knife that I wanted. The knife is probably no bigger than 6 inches opened. And it had a piece of meteorite on it for the bolster, just because it had that meteorite on there, which is practically, again, it's an indestructible material, and it sort of acts the same way as white Westinghouse, where you can alter it to give it a different look. The price of that little teeny tiny knife was like freaking $14.50, and while I really want meteorite in my collection someday, I just don't see myself getting a knife that small and paying that much just because it's got meteorite on it. It'd have to be the whole package of the knife would be the reason why I would buy it, and it just didn't seem cost effective for me to purchase it at that time. Am I ruling out meteorite in my collection? Probably not. It'll be in the future somewhere, but in the meantime, if you're looking for a material that is sturdy, that can fit really well on a, as far as the theme of your knife, if you're into custom knives and you're looking to get a knife made specifically for you, a one-of-a-kind, white Westinghouse is the perfect way to go, just because they can find this material in different shades. As far as I understand it, they could probably even do other things to the material to get it to look this way, to fit on your knife. And, obviously the number one thing is that the material is sturdy to use as a handle. Um, and this is probably the best of the best of what White Westinghouse can do when you see it on a knife with this kind of a theme. I mean, this knife literally looks like a bird slammed right into this titanium liner and died right on my knife. It's just a beautiful, beautiful material. Um, and of course, we all love the idea that it is sturdy, because most of us that are into knives probably just consider titanium to be the number one thing we want on our knives, never really considering that maybe there's other material out there that would give a different look, a different feel, a different texture than just titanium alone, and yet just be as aesthetically satisfying. So this is Omar, the knife of the party guy, signing off, giving you an understanding of what materials people from South Africa use that could possibly match the sturdiness, the strength of titanium, and you know that would be White Westinghouse as one of them. We're going to delve into other knife materials in my collection in the future, at least till I get another uh, knife to talk about. Because I think knife materials have been something that's been, you know, it's been something that's been kind of like overlooked. And we really need to really begin to appreciate every aspect of knife making in South Africa and what they use and why they use that material and how it can come across here to the United States as something that is just spectacular in any collection. So this is Omar, your knife of the party guy, signing off, hoping you'll find some White Westinghouse on one of your knives in the future. You may have to go custom to get a knife with White Westinghouse on it, but I can tell you from owning 3 knives with this material on it, it is completely worth every penny. Thank you so much for watching. This is Omar, knife of the party. Please like, subscribe, and comment. I keep forgetting to say that on any of these videos that I do. I would like to do some giveaways in the future. You know, maybe give away a little knife, nothing too expensive, but something just to say thank you to my public that actually watch my channel and watch my videos. You know, that'll be happening in the future. So I will see you guys in the next video. And you guys have a fantastic Sunday afternoon.